You clicked this video. At least it felt like you did. Maybe it was timing, or something in the way your day unfolded. One small thing leading to another until this exact frame showed up on your screen. The algorithm knew what kind of titles you pause on, what images make you linger for half a second longer. It doesn't know you, but it knows your habits, and sometimes that's enough. It's easy to believe that you chose it, that there was a clear moment where the mind said, yes, this one, but where did that moment begin? What shaped it? The mind feels like a captain steering the ship, but every now and then a strange feeling arises, as if the wheel was already turning before your hands even touched it. So the question isn't just, did you choose this? It's, when did the choice really begin? And more importantly, if something else chose this moment for you, what else is it choosing? In 1983, a quiet experiment shook the foundation of how we think about free will. It was simple. Volunteers sat in a lab and were told to press a button whenever they felt like it. No rules, no prompt, just press when it felt right. Meanwhile, electrodes tracked the brain's electrical signals. Here's what they found. Almost half a second before someone consciously decided to move, their brain had already started the process. Not after, before. That means the action began in the unconscious, and the conscious mind only caught up afterward, thinking it was in control. This became known as the Libet experiment, and it raised a quiet, profound possibility that our sense of agency might just be a story, one told after the fact, to make sense of something that's already begun. It doesn't mean we're puppets, but it does mean the strings may be tied to something deeper than we're used to seeing, something ancient, something beyond thought. And if the decision begins before you feel it, what exactly is that you who believes it's in charge? Close your eyes for a moment and listen, not to the world outside, but to that quiet stream running through your thoughts. There's a voice there, constantly narrating your experience, recalling the past, planning the future, naming things, explaining, judging. We grow up assuming that this voice is who we are. But if that voice is you, then who is listening to it? Most of us drift through life believing we are our thoughts, that the constant stream of language running through the mind is somehow identical with the self. Yet every now and then, something unexpected slips through. A strange phrase, a sudden image, a thought that feels foreign, almost alien. And in that brief flicker of distance, a subtle question arises. If I didn't decide to think that, where did it come from? The brain is more like a river than a machine. It's water shaped by memory, emotion, language, culture. It flows through the channels carved by your childhood, your fears, your longings, and the voices you've absorbed across a lifetime. Sometimes the currents are smooth and predictable. Sometimes they surge and clash, pulling you under. But you didn't choose the riverbed, and you don't control the flow. What if this inner monologue, the voice you call me, is just a loop repeating learned patterns, echoes from parents, teachers, songs, wounds, and forgotten stories? And if that's true, then the question isn't how to silence the voice, it's how to stop mistaking it for you, because once you notice the watcher, the voice no longer owns the room. In the early texts of Vedanta, there's a riddle that feels more like a mirror. What if this world is not what you see, but what you dream? Not a fantasy, but a deeper kind of dream. One where the dreamer forgets they're dreaming, where you play the role of the one who chooses without seeing how the stage was set. In the West, we're taught to locate ourselves in decisions. I chose this, I made that happen. But the mystics of the East speak of something else. They say that life is not something you push through. It's something that flows through you, like a breeze passing through an open window. You can feel it, but you can't control its source. The ancient sages called this force many names: Tao, Brahman, the self, not something far away, but the current underneath everything. When you believe you're the doer, life feels like effort. You try to manage, fix, plan, and predict, but when the illusion thins, even for a moment, it begins to feel as though something deeper is unfolding through you, and you're just the witness. You start noticing moments that feel too aligned to be chance, encounters that arrive at the perfect time, words you needed to hear, spoken before you knew you were listening, and you begin to wonder, what if life isn't happening to you? What if it's happening as you? Because if the dream is dreaming you, then somewhere inside this illusion, something ancient is starting to wake up. Before your name, before the stories, before anyone told you what was right, wrong, possible, or polite, who were you? As children, we don't think about becoming ourselves. We just are. We cry when we're sad. We laugh without a reason. We sing nonsense songs and believe in invisible friends. There's no filter, no performance, only presence. But little by little, that presence is shaped. Parents correct you, teachers grade you, friends compare you. You learn which parts of you are praised and which are met with silence or disapproval. So you begin to edit yourself. You shrink the loud parts. You mask the tender ones. You start to trade authenticity for acceptance. Eventually, the mask becomes second nature. You forget you're wearing it. And the saddest part, the world rewards you for it, for being responsible, predictable, normal. But sometimes, in a moment of stillness or beauty, something cracks. A glimpse breaks through the surface. You feel yourself. Not the self others taught you to be, but something older, freer, more alive. And you wonder, what happened to that version of me? The truth is, it never left. It's just been waiting, quietly, behind the noise, behind the roles you play and the rules you follow. So the question isn't how to become yourself, it's how to unbecome everything you were told to be, until what's left is something real, something wild and unedited, something that remembers who you were before the world forgot for you. Long ago, on a battlefield called Kurukshetra, a warrior named Arjuna stood trembling, not from fear of death, but from the weight of choice. His enemies were his own family. His duty was to fight, but his heart split in two. In the Bhagavad Gita, one of India's oldest spiritual texts, Arjuna turns to his charioteer for guidance. But this is no ordinary charioteer. It's Krishna, the divine, disguised as a friend. Arjuna begs for answers. He wants clarity, certainty, control. But Krishna offers something stranger. Your right is to the action, never to its fruits. Surrender the outcome, act, and let go. It sounds like a paradox, but maybe that's the point, because the deeper you spiral into thought, the further you drift from peace. You'll never think your way out of the storm. You'll never calculate your way to surrender. Free will, the kind we worship, assumes the self is in charge, but the Gita whispers otherwise. You are not the storm. You are not even the sailor. You are the sky, watching it all pass. And real peace begins when you stop trying to win the war inside your head and simply lay down your sword. So, what's now? A monk once asked his master, "What is the way?" The master smiled and said, "Not difficult unless you try to choose." Free will, the crown jewel of the modern mind. But what if it's not the freedom to control, but the freedom to relate differently to what unfolds? We imagine we're steering the ship, hands tight on the wheel, yet the wind, the tide, the stars, none of it is ours. Still, something within us moves with it, not in opposition, but in rhythm. You didn't choose your thoughts, you didn't design your desires. You woke up mid-dream and assumed you were the author. But what if you're not the one choosing the path? What if you are the path being walked? And in that realization, something strange happens. Not despair, but relief. Not passivity, but peace. The burden of being in control begins to fall away, and what's left is presence, a softening, a quiet awe at the mystery moving through it all. So maybe the deepest freedom isn't choosing the script, it's seeing that there never was one, and in that stillness, beyond effort or doubt, you might finally hear it, the silence that was choosing all along.